Hello, Eastern Iowa. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I am Rebecca Vaughn with KCRG TV9 News. I am joined by Molly Swain. This morning we are talking a little bit about career and college pathways being implemented in area high schools. It's kind of a common thing that we're seeing, but Cedar Rapids Community School District is just now adding theirs. They're looking to add it next school year. Molly, you've been kind of covering that story. You were there at the meeting on Monday.
We've both been covering the story. That's why we're here.
Yes, we've both been covering the story throughout the week. I kind of took an in-depth look at, what are other districts doing when it comes to some of their career pathway options? How are they being implemented? I had an I-9 investigations piece that aired just last week. It was a great look at, what students get a chance to do. So today we're kind of here answering your questions that you may have for us as the reporters that are kind of seeing, what you might have to ask and seeing how we can answer them to the best of our abilities. So we've got the stream going.
Yes.
We can see.
It feels like I'm in Houston sending someone to space, so bear with us if we're trying to find your questions. There are a lot of...
I think I see where they should be being asked. So we should be good.
Okay. And we're just hanging out here, so whenever you do have a question,
Yeah.
drop it in the chat.
Exactly.
We are happy to do our very best to answer it. In the meantime, we can kind of just talk about some of the reporting we have done.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
I could start.
Sure.
I, again, took an in-depth look. I went to the College Community School District to kind of see, what does their career pathway program look like? And I got a really great look. I got to go and meet some of the students in the ag department, some of them that were training in the pre-nursing department. And it was great to see, such young folks in high school kind of working to learn what they do want to do after high school and maybe what they don't want to do. And that was another thing, the superintendent really stressed to me, is that in their district, if they're on a pathway, they might learn, hey, I love this, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. They might also learn, ooh, I don't love this. Maybe I'm going to switch and find something else.
Which is, so when I did my first story on kind of this subject, I talked to the principal at Kennedy High School, and that's the exact same thing he was saying, that if kids figure out, hey, I actually really hate this idea of doing a career, or this is not for me, that's a win in his book. So I think the goal is the same. I think the difference is between, you went to Waterloo, is that correct?
I went to Waterloo and I went to the college community. Yes.
And both of those districts just have the one high school.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I think is causing some kerfuffle here in Cedar Rapids is that there are multiple high schools, and that's where a lot of the questions have come in. What's going to happen as we see this play out over 3 high schools instead of 1?
Right.
So, but I think a lot of those questions have been answered. We are here to answer them today. So that's just kind of what everyone in Cedar Rapids is figuring out right now.
Right, yeah. And like you were saying, learning what you don't want to do is just as important as learning what you may want to do. I know in college, you're on the path, you're like, I want to do this, and then maybe you hit a roadblock and you're like, ooh, maybe I would like to switch my major. And by doing that, it might set you back a couple credits in your major. You might have to start over with your major. If you could figure that out in high school, at least at Prairie High School and College Community, that's what they were talking with me about, is how beneficial it is to not be, set back when you're already paying so much money to go to college.
I was actually talking to a friend. I went to trivia the other night.
Okay, yeah.
And I mentioned to a friend, I have to do this Facebook Live. This is the story I've been working on. And we were kind of just talking about our different college careers. And he said he changed his major. I guess he had 3 different majors, so he changed his major twice.
Oh, wow.
And, that wasn't my experience. So it was interesting to talk to someone who did get to college and have that experience of, I thought I wanted to do this. Actually, no, I didn't. I thought I wanted to do this. Actually, no, I didn't. And that's the exact thing that they're trying to, I guess, prevent kids from going through.
No, yeah. I know when I went to college back home in Pennsylvania, I knew I wanted to go into journalism on one way, shape, or form, but I didn't know what my options were because when I was in high school, we didn't have sort of something to explore that. So I went to college, I did my first year in print journalism, and I was like, oh, I love the writing and I love everything about it, but what can I add to it? So we added like an electronic media side, but I had to add on a ton of credits halfway through college, and it ups your workload, and being able to explore that in high school and knowing right when you get to college or whatever you're going to do after high school is very beneficial.
Let's see.
Yes,
and you might have to help me if we have
I am looking. I'm not seeing any questions coming in just yet. We do have some viewers on.
Okay, so viewers, ask us your questions. We're gonna try and answer them.
Yeah, we have. We've been speaking with the Cedar Rapids Community School District all week long.
Yes.
You know, we have done stories on this throughout the week, so we've got a plethora of knowledge to share with you. Because what you see in the story, you might see a minute and a half of what was a 3-hour conversation.
Yes, we almost always have a lot more to say than what's in the story.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are constrained by time, but here we're really not. Should we kind of play some of the reporting that we've done
definitely.
so far?
Do we want to start with your story from the first informational meeting?
We definitely can. I'm not sure if the intro is going to play, so I'll just tell you. There were 3 informational meetings. You probably know this, at the 3 different high schools. I went to the first one at Kennedy High School on Monday, and this is kind of the first one, which I think I said my report from that evening.
Alrighty, I'm going to mute our microphones and we are going to roll.
Okay.
Will there be transportation provided?
Yes.
A chorus of hows about sums up Monday night's meeting. Parents could submit questions on a piece of paper. Officials collected them and then shared the answers they saw, but that didn't seem to adequately address parents' many concerns.
Not enough bus drivers and elementary schools already don't get to do field trips.
Thank you.
If we could not control the disruption, we will just end the meeting.
The meeting Monday was to share details about a model that will require high schoolers to choose a pathway and then take a class a year in that pathway. The district emphasizes that many pathways overlap at the high schools, but the pamphlet shared at the meeting showed not every option is available at all 4 schools.
I asked my son last night, I said, do you want me to come to this meeting and pick a fight? Do you want me to fight for one way or the other? I don't care, because this is his life, not mine, you know? And he said, well, I don't necessarily want you to pick a fight, but at the same time, I want to stay with my friends.
Troy Elliott has a son in 8th grade who will be impacted by this change.
My ex-wife has talked about possibly going to a different district because of what's happening.
Another parent I spoke to, also with a son in 8th grade, didn't mention leaving the district, but also didn't fully understand why the district was implementing the program.
Honestly, I think they should give parents opportunity to opt out of it.
Michael Klosek said he thought it was valuable to talk to kids about their futures, but he wasn't sure that striving after success, as the district defined it, was the right move.
I can't think of how my high school made me successful. The things that make you successful are the people you hang around with, the friends you have, the family you have.
Will there be transportation provided?
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty, we are back. It started to autoplay there for a second, but we're figuring out the technology.
Yes, we are. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of questions. The first one that I see is from Kelly Finn Detman, which I hope I am pronouncing correctly. She asks, how do schools help kids identify the paths? Are we able to share this
yes.
screen over here? Oh, I have to tap this?
Yes, but which question would you like me to pop
It's
up?
about freshman academies. So that's the 9th grade year.
This one?
That might be correct. I'm going to go ahead and tap this, so our faces are going to disappear. And we're taking you to the Cedar Rapids School District's webpage and their page of frequently asked questions. Boop. So they have kind of a couple of different questions where they talk about the freshman academies, and this is where they help kids identify what the paths are and help them decide on those paths. If you scroll down a little bit, it says freshman academy will include a seminar. It's a required course for those kids in 9th grade that focuses on identifying interests, aptitudes, and career skills. It includes guest speakers and field trips, hands-on projects, an event where they interact with, quote, local industry partners to learn about career opportunities. And then at the end, I think it happens in the spring, is academy selection. That's when students kind of choose their school or academy that they're going to focus on for grades 10 through 12. So hopefully that answers your question. All those pathways are identified and kind of the school walks the kids through them in that freshman academy.
Yes.
Did you have a...
There is a...
Did you want to look at Cassidy's question?
There's another... Yes, we could do Cassidy's question if you would like to pop our faces back up.
Okay, you want to see our little faces? And we're we're getting to your questions as they kind of scroll in, so we'll kind of bebop around.
So Cassidy asks, what in-depth look have you done researching college and career paths around the country? And she kind of goes in, what districts have you researched that have had multiple successful theme-based schools and a magnet school? And then kind of talks about different areas around the country. As of right now, we have not taken a look, at least in my reporting, we have not taken a look countrywide. That is a great idea for something for us to look into and for follow-up stories to see what other schools around the country are doing it. But you with CRCSD kind of mentioned that this is a nationwide model.
Yeah, well, there have been a few conversations about, what would that look like looking at kind of these other models in other places in the country, because they do this in other places in the country. And that first meeting I went to that Monday night at Kennedy, they did discuss this is a nationwide model. There are other districts that do that. Unfortunately, we haven't had the opportunity yet to really dig in. I want to say I was doing some initial Googling, so I don't know anything confirmed. They said at that meeting that Nashville had a model like this, so I was kind of looking into that. But we don't have any fully fleshed out looks at other districts, especially where they have multiple high schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not something that we wouldn't do. It is something that we can take a look at with our follow-up stories that we do.
This is a big topic, so
Yes.
there's still a lot for us to report on.
Yes, and I've taken a look around some of the schools around eastern Iowa just to see what they're doing. Do you think that would be a good time to play our story on our I-9, just about what those districts are doing?
I think so, and then while that's happening, we're going to kind of make note of the other questions that are rolling in, so we're going to get to you.
I promise. All right, we are going to go ahead and mute. Across from Prairie High School in Cedar Rapids, a greenhouse is growing more than just flowers. It's growing students in the College Community School District and what could be the next generation of agricultural workers.
And it allows us to sort of experience a couple different things. It allows us to experience those plant science sections and being able to look at things growing in real life, whether in the greenhouse or outside in our test plots.
Adam McCrae is a senior at Prairie High and the current president of the Cedar Rapids Prairie FFA chapter. Before high school, he didn't know what he wanted to do, and he didn't grow up on a farm. And now?
So I'm thinking about going to Iowa State University, and I'll major in agronomy and ag policy.
He's a part of the Agriculture and Sciences Career Academy. The program was the first of the College Community District's 5 academies, along with arts, business, health and public services, and skilled trades and engineering.
The real power is the land that this sits on and the 40 acres that we have reserved to grow that agriculture program. The building and the land that it sits on is going to evolve with the program, evolve with the needs within the agriculture industry, but also evolve with the needs of the students and the interests of the students.
The district chose its career pathways based on the careers Eastern Iowa has to offer. The hope is to grow the next generation of workforce right here at home.
Over 40% of the jobs in our area are tied to agriculture, but now we've got students going into ag business. We've got it going into ag engineering. So they really see the breadth of an area that they can go into and still live and thrive here in Iowa.
And that's where experts say career pathway programs can be successful. Saba Ali with the University of Iowa studied career pathways.
When I was doing the research in West Virginia, what I found is that those who wanted skills and to have a skilled job after high school were able to stay in that location because it matched them to the industries there.
But can a 9th grader really choose what job they want to do for the rest of their lives? Ali says that's not really the question facing these teenagers.
There used to be a time where people would go into a specific industry or specific job and stay there for 40 years. And then, of course, the company would provide them a pension and they would retire and things like that. But we don't have that anymore. So you see more and more job changing and career changing for that matter.
Studies suggest the average American has 3 to 7 careers before retiring. That's why early exposure to the working world is critical to build skills. And at Prairie, students are learning what they may and may not want to do.
Even if they want to change a pathway, it's not going to be a detriment to them. They may not have an extra year to engage in something that they're really liked, but they might have, without that pathway, they might have gone to college and spent a year doing something they weren't interested in, and that's expensive.
But providing these pathways isn't cheap either. Ali said it's more common for larger districts with more resources to offer them. That's why the Waterloo Career Center buses in students from 12 other districts.
We like to talk to kids about whether you go into the workplace or college after high school, you're going to work with people you don't know, and really learning what that looks like as a high school student, being able to collaborate amongst the 20 programs that we offer at the Career Center. I think it's really an advantage for kids.
Helping even more students discover their futures, like McCrae.
Well, I think that's given me a deeper knowledge, so I know what I want to do, which means that I'm ready to go into Iowa State knowing exactly what I want to do, so that I have a better chance at taking those classes that are going to be necessary and important for my future.
To us immediately. That was nice.
We're learning.
Yeah, we're learning. But that was my I-9 investigation piece that we took a look. I met with some college community school districts. You heard from that student that he didn't know what he wanted to do before he went to high school. And then through the pathway programs at his high school and through FFA, kind of learned what he wanted to do. And it put him on a path to know what classes he wanted to take immediately in college. And he says it sets him up for success when he does graduate high school and goes on to college.
All right. Very helpful
No,
for some
definitely.
kids, at least.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a couple of more questions.
Yes.
Looks like Kelly Finn Detman again says, what if a kid chooses a path but is not well suited for this pathway? Yes. And we have the FAQ page. We can pop that up again. So it says that kids can change their academy later. So it says kind of in that last sentence there, switching is not unlimited, and counselors will help students decide the best time and process to make the change. When I spoke to the principal at Kennedy, he said students get kind of one switch. That's what I heard. So you can change at least one time. If you get into 10th grade, you take that class and you say, absolutely, I don't want to do this for 2 more years. You are able to switch at least once, but it does look like it's not, you can't do it.
Right.
There will be some kind of ceiling on how many times you can switch.
Right.
So hopefully that answers that question. I can pop our faces back up.
And then Nick also asked, do the kids change high schools for this, or are they just bused to another school for the one class? Thank you for doing this Q&A.
Happy to do this Q&A.
Now, you were the main one focusing on CRCSD. So what does it sound like based on the meeting that you attended and also some of our other reporting? I know Jackson Valenti, our other reporter here, he was also at quite a few of the meetings and actually had that one-on-one with the superintendent.
Right. So you do not have to, your kid does not have to change schools. I wish I brought, I did bring the pamphlet up here. So it is totally up to you. They want you to stay at your school. They are encouraging you to stay at your school if that's what you want to do. But of course, if there is a pathway at that school, if you're, let's say, enrolled in Kennedy and the pathway that your kid wants is not there, then you can go to another school. So it really is kind of, no one's kind of making you choose. It's up to you and your family. As for the transportation piece, which I think he also, are they busing kids to another school? Yes. They will do that if you choose to go to a different school that's not your resident school. And I think they're still maybe figuring out how that's going to work. That's my understanding, is they have a plan that also comes with some questions, but it's up to you, and they are providing transportation, they say is provided. So hopefully that answers that.
Corey Block has asked, the transportation question has had multiple responses that conflict with each other, and the fact page still says parents have to get their kids to the home school for busing to a different pathway school. Do you have clarification following your conversations?
The way that I understood it, and this comes from Jackson Valenti, who went to the Tuesday and Thursday meetings, he said, and you may know this already and we can kind of figure out what we're trying to answer, is you can, let's say I was going to go to Kennedy, but I enroll in Washington. I would take my bus to Kennedy and then pick up a second bus to go to Washington.
Okay.
And it does say that responsibility to the first bus stop is the family's responsibility. But I think if there's a bus that goes there, you could just take the bus. We can get clarification on that from the district. That's my understanding from this FAQ page and from our reporting, is that is kind of how it works, which I think is, maybe it sounds from your question you already had that, and I'm not sure that adds really any knowledge, but hopefully we can figure out more and we can ask for clarification. clarification, because I think that is a big piece of it.
And that's a big piece of this Q&A, is to get more questions that maybe we haven't thought of as reporters from the parents and from the family members in the school district, so we can go back to the district and ask those questions, just so we are answering everybody's questions around this change.
Just because it's a big change,
Yes.
and there have been so many questions,
Definitely.
so we can find out more.
Let me see. We have you interviewed the teachers to get their real input on this rollout?
That is something that we have been attempting to do. I know Jackson reached out to the union,
Okay.
so I don't know exactly where we are on that. That is something that I know is at least in progress. We've definitely been having conversations with teachers kind of off the record, haven't been able to get a teacher on the record, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm concerned we're jumping in way too fast on some of this. That has been a concern, that this is moving very quickly. And that was one of the questions that we did get to talk to the superintendent about. You know, it sounds like it's coming to the parents very quickly. Why weren't they maybe involved a little bit earlier in the process, especially ahead of it's happening just next school year? We do have a interview clip from her, if I can make it play.
Where she speaks directly to kind of the timeline and why they're doing it the way they are doing it.
Yes, and I think I have it pulled up right here. I'm pretty sure it's that one. So I'm going to mute our microphones and...
Is it that one or is it this one?
It could be either.
We're going to play one, and if it's not right,
we'll play the
something
other
else.
one. So we're going to mute our microphones.
Do you go to the community before things are actually a little bit more concrete? Or do you wait until you feel like you at least have a pretty good understanding of how this could work? And that was the option that we chose, to try to get as much of this figured out before we went to a large-scale exposure. But in hindsight, we see that because we did not put out information soon enough, even if it was still like in the vacant stages, maybe that would have been helpful.
Alrighty, and we are back. We're getting some more questions.
Well, first, let's kind of address, that's where she said we could either come to you half-baked,
Yes.
or we could come to you full-baked. Oh, I'm forgetting the name. Who asked that question? But hopefully that kind of addresses at least what the district's thinking is on why they came to parents kind of late in the game.
They wanted to have a more structured game plan rather than less of a structure before they came to everybody.
And I think that there was some acknowledgement that maybe we should have done something differently.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So, here's our next question. Blake, it says, in regards to Nick's question more specifically, if the student's home school is Kennedy and they pick a pathway at Washington, would they do all of their core classes at Kennedy and then just be bused to Washington for the pathway course and back to Kennedy?
My understanding is no, that is not how it will work. If you choose, I want this pathway at Kennedy or whatever, then you now go to Kennedy and you take all of your classes at Kennedy. Because I think the logistics of, I'm just going to take my pathway class at Kennedy, difficult.
Right.
So
A
my
lot of busing.
understanding is if you choose a pathway outside of your school, that is now your school.
And then we have one from Stephen that said, how is the school district choosing what pathways to offer to students?
I don't know that we have a lot of insight into that answer. I think the thing that we've been hearing is just conversations with teachers. My understanding is also that current teachers who are currently in the district are the teachers who are training to teach these classes. So I think potentially they're working with the resources they already have in-house.
Yes, that's what I've heard as well.
But I think the only thing that we have heard about why this at this school, why this at that school is internal conversations.
Yes.
So I think that's all we know right now.
And it's kind of similar with the transportation questions. You say they're training the current teachers to kind of be prepared to teach these pathway classes. I know busing and transportation has been on the top of a lot of people's minds. And, they say that they're, like you mentioned before, they're preparing to take that on. They're trying to find a way to see how they can handle that extra kind of load of students.
Yes.
Got it. See if we've got any more.
I think I see.
We can only see like 4 questions at a time on our view. So if you had a question that we didn't hit, and it got kind of eaten by the algorithm, put it in again, and it'll pop up at the top of our screen, and so hopefully we'll be able to get to everybody's questions.
And hopefully this is helpful. These are great questions,
Yeah.
and we're providing at least some perspective.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of reporting on this, and we're happy to share it. Ask us more questions.
Yeah, it's a big change that I know a lot of people were kind of taken aback by, you know, especially with not every single option will be offered at each high school, and then that concern of, are my kids going to have to leave the school they're currently at and have been at for a while to go to another place?
And kids in high school right now, this will not affect them at all.
Correct.
So this would be kids who are in 8th grade coming in.
Yes.
So kids, the school that you thought you were going to be in for a while,
Right.
is what would happen.
Got it. This is why you are the CRCSD side of things.
It's not a correction, but maybe a slight tweak.
Okay, Molly. We've got another question. Is one of the goals of Pathway to try to keep students in Iowa for jobs? I can actually kind of take this one, Molly.
Okay.
When I was speaking with the College Community School District in Prairie High School, their program is, they chose the pathways that they offer specifically because of the jobs that are available here in Iowa. Sorry, I see that we might be playing a video somewhere. That we
I
might have
also
hit.
see, oh, we're back.
We're back.
I swear I did not touch anything.
No,
I swear.
I think we might have just hit a delay, and I think we are all good to go. So,
okay.
Yes. Sorry. we're learning. But yeah, they said that they specifically picked which career pathways they're offering based on what Iowa has to offer. So Prairie High School, they have the large ag pathway. And, you know, when I spoke with the superintendent, they really did say, oh, you know, we want to build that workforce here at home. Iowa is 40% agriculture, and it's not just, you know, going out and farming, and it's the sciences behind it. It's not just going out and doing what you might think off the top of your head is, what does a farmer do? You know, it's making sure the sciences behind everything are the way they need to be. And it is to try to keep people here in Iowa, at least at Prairie, because they're trying to harbor, oh, what can you do to stay here at home? And I did get to talk to an expert with the University of Iowa who actually, she studied career pathways, and you kind of might have got to hear a little bit from her in our I-9 piece that just aired. That's when these things can be really successful.
Okay.
Is when the kids can see themselves staying here in Iowa rather than, oh, maybe there's a job, maybe my career pathway offers a job, but that job isn't here, so I need to go somewhere else to follow that pathway. She said career pathways can be really successful when they're honed in on what the home state has to offer, and kids can see themselves living here for the rest of their lives.
That actually, because I've been doing the CRCSD and you've been more at other districts who are local but not CRCSD, that's really interesting perspective. And hopefully it directly answers that question we got from, your name disappeared, Stephen.
We'll see. Yes, Stephen.
Okay, perfect. Looks like we got a couple of other comments.
Oh. Let's see. Brooke, another saying, construction starts at spring. Let's see if I can see more.
Looks like the question comes at the end.
Yes. Will the school district be open to waiting at least 1 year to figure out the details and not having students be guinea pigs?
I think the answer that at least I have for that from all the things that I've been seeing is when Jackson spoke to Dr. Grover, she said, we are wanting your feedback, and that is going to be actionable feedback.
Yes.
Are they open to waiting a whole year? I don't know about that. They may be more open to making tweaks to the program. I know when I was at that meeting at Kennedy, a parent was passing around a QR code, and it led to a petition online that said, give parents more time to understand the Pathways program.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's something the district, we can definitely look into that. That is, again, a question we can ask. Looking at everything that I have in front of me right now, I'm not sure the district is open to that. But they say they want your feedback, and that it is going to be feedback that they use to make adjustments. I'm just not sure how big those adjustments would be.
Right, and they want your feedback. We actually have a link under all of these comments on this page. There is a post from us, KCRG TV9, with a link, and that link will take you to the CRCSD page where you can submit more comments, more questions directly to the district. That is pinned under a comment we made here when the stream first started, but I'm not seeing.
We can always re-comment it.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere. It
We
is
have
here somewhere.
about 15 screens in front of us.
Yes, and it's more than we have ever handled at one time. Beth asks, Rebecca, your reporting included talking to an expert who studies career pathways nationwide. What did the expert have to say about the success/failure from a broad perspective? So she kind of talked about the pros and cons. And when you go under our I-9 investigation, the link on our website, there is kind of a pros and cons at a glance. So you can kind of read them real quick without having to go through all of the text of the article, because it is quite a lot. But when you look at it from a broad perspective, they give, the career pathways really give students and children a good idea of what the working world has to offer. And that's where she says, the expert that I spoke with at the University of Iowa says, if we're not giving students the opportunity to explore these things, they need the opportunity to explore.
Okay.
Just to see what is out there with the world afterwards, after high school.
Can I kind of ask a follow-up question to Beth's question?
Yes, go ahead.
If you talked to this nationwide expert,
Yes.
if you had to boil everything she said down to thumbs up, thumbs down,
Yeah.
what would it be?
And it's funny that you asked that, because I asked her, I was like, it sounds like there's more pros than cons. And she said yes, more pros for the wide picture or overviewing picture. If you had to take a giant photo of what she said, it would be that career pathways are beneficial to students. And it does depend on the district, though, because I did talk to her about, is this mostly for larger districts that have more money, more resources? And she said, yes, a lot of the times these are going to be larger districts that have, and she didn't say more money, she said more resources.
Okay.
That is the big picture to look at. So sometimes the smaller districts might not get the opportunity that these larger districts have, because they don't have the resources. And when I went and spoke with the Waterloo community, or the Waterloo Career Center, they actually bus in students from 12 other districts, smaller districts in the area that might not be getting that opportunity to explore their futures because they just do not have the resources.
And of course, I mean, this expert had nuance. There were cons, but it sounds like if we boil everything down, which sometimes is helpful, it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's keep looking at the questions.
Brooke had a question. What happens if you fail the pathway at... Oop!
Well, everything's moving.
You moved something.
No, we got it.
Okay.
Right here.
Do you take it again with the younger class, and then how do you get caught back up? I do have the answer to at least the first part.
Isn't that on here?
It is on the FAQ page. I'm going to tap it.
Wait, I'm not there yet.
It's
You're
okay.
going to see me scroll manically.
You're watching Rebecca scroll manically.
This is not... Uh-oh. Where is it?
I think...
There it is.
What if kids fail an academy class? It will go on their transcript and affect their GPA. They are allowed to retake the class. So it sounds like it's following kind of the model that's already in place, and that there are repercussions for failing a class, kind of just like any other class. It's treated like an elective class.
Yeah, it does say on there like current electives.
So hopefully that answers that question.
And then it says, Stephen asks, besides college community, do any other local districts offer pathways like Marion, Lingmar, etc.?
Here, you want me to pop our faces back up?
Yeah. As of right now, I mean, it's very possible that other districts in eastern Iowa offer something similar. Our reporting right now has not expanded much further than, what we have focused on, at least in my I-9. It did take me, I think I was working on that piece for close to 3 weeks. So
takes the time it takes.
Yeah. So for what you see on TV, for it to be a 3-minute story, that's 3 weeks worth of interviews, which is, it's a fun time to be able to put all of that together and make it a cohesive story like that. And it is something that we are very willing to look into, what other schools are offering similar things and how they operate.
I said it takes the time it takes, but that is a very valid question. And I mean, it would be actually incredibly helpful if we could provide people with a look at everything that's going on in the district. This is what they do, this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very valid point.
We are continuing on. Looking at area districts for guidance. Our home district has been doing this for years with very little resistance. It's just another opportunity for students to take. It sounds like when I was speaking with the Waterloo Career Center, it sounds like they did have some conversations with CRCSD about what a model would look like. The Waterloo Career Center couldn't speak for CRCSD when it comes to
Acronyms are hard.
They are, especially when you've been awake since 2:30 in the morning. But they couldn't speak exactly to what was, discussed when we had met with them, but they had discussions just about what their center looks like and what pathway they could take. Did you have any conversations that were kind of similar about, speaking with other districts?
So I know from the meeting, they didn't just cook this up on their own. They did look, they said this is a nationwide model, and they looked outward. I don't have, all the nitty gritty details on what exactly that looked like, but they did take inspiration. They did kind of do their research and look at where else is this model happening? What does this look like?
Yeah, and it's important to note that Tawana Grover with the district, she did launch a career academy at her last school in Grand Island, Nebraska. Our sister station in Nebraska says the school's career pathways are still currently going. They did have some budget-related cuts a year ago, but the program is generally liked within the community. So she has created a program like this in the past.
Yes.
That is important to note. So
this is, I think it all boils down to, this is not new.
Yeah.
It's new for us here in Cedar Rapids, but there are many other places.
And that's something to even think of too, is the Waterloo Career Center has been open since, I think it was 2016.
Oh, wow.
It's been open for a while.
Okay.
And they've seen students come through, and they got to walk me through some of their facilities. And when I say their facilities are, I was impressed by the equipment that students get to have that hands-on experience with,
I think something that families were really reacting to was the multiple high schools, which is different than Waterloo.
Yeah.
And then also the being required. The feeling of being locked in, which we did learn you are able to switch. Is it similar in Waterloo where you have to choose a pathway, you have to take classes in a pathway, or is it more just here's part of the buffet that we offer you as the high school?
Yeah, during our conversations that didn't come up and we didn't have that conversation, but it is something to look at, with other districts in the area. Who requires it? Who just says, hey, this is something that you can take advantage of if you so desire, and how maybe CRCSD compares to those districts in another way. We could happily take another look at how other districts are comparing to this program, kind of like what we did, but maybe a little bit different.
There's a lot to learn.
There is, and there's a lot of questions to ask, and that's why, there are still questions that we don't have answered, because it's just such a big topic that there's going to be stuff that maybe we don't think of that we know is important to people.
I don't know that I'm seeing any new comments or questions in the last couple of minutes. We might want to hang out. I don't know if we have another story to play, maybe kind of give people one final chance to chime in.
We have a couple more interviews with Superintendent Grover that we could play, specifically on why they are deciding to make this change.
Okay.
What kind of prompted them to say, hey, we need to add something like this into our district. So
let's go ahead and play that and kind of give people a final chance to chime in.
Yeah. Perfect.
Our mission statement has been around for years, as far as I know. And right in the mission statement, it says that we want to ensure that our students have a plan, pathway, and passion for their future. Our vision statement that everyone knows is every learner future ready. That was some of the early work that I had the opportunity to explore, coming here as a superintendent, and very impressed with a lot of programming that was already underway here in our school district. With that being said, we knew that we needed to come up with a plan that will allow us to honor that mission and to get us closer to that vision for every student.
So that is the superintendent kind of speaking on, why that change was needed. What did you hear about why maybe they're looking at doing something like this?
Rebecca, I'm so glad you asked. My laptop is over there and I'm wired in. Are you able to?
Let me see if I can sneak.
Okay.
I'm also wired in.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So one of the things that I'm having Rebecca grab my laptop, there's so many screens that I'm afraid to touch them.
Yes.
But the thing I have pulled up on my laptop is the Iowa State report card. And this is something that they talked a lot about when I went to that meeting.
Okay.
Because the Cedar Rapids School District is doing below average. And I wanted to pull it up so I would have it in front of me and I would not make any mistakes when I told you the numbers. So Right now, about 77% of students are graduating in 4 years in the Cedar Rapids Community School District, which is about 10 percentage points below average in the state of Iowa. The average is about 87%. There was another stat that they quoted also quite often, beep, 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 post-secondary readiness. So how many students are exposed to college credits? How many students are exposed to some kind of work experience? Only about 36% of students in Cedar Rapids, which is well below the average of almost 70%.
Wow.
So they're really, and I think the meeting that Jackson went to, administrators were saying, we have to change something. We need to keep students with us. We need to make sure that they cross over the finish line with us, that they get to graduation. So I think the why really comes down to, this is a big part of it. We need to change something. I think the district finally opened up and said that we need to change something. So I think maybe they're talking about this, but looking at the state report card, I think is very illuminating.
Right. We do have another question from Kelly. I was placed in the wrong track at Washington High School. It took me years to get to college. How will this program work to ensure that doesn't happen? Correct me if I'm wrong if this doesn't answer your question. When I spoke with Prairie High School, their whole goal is to make sure the kids are on the right track with what career option they want to go into. You know, not spending years trying to figure out what they want to do and spending that money and all that time trying to figure it out before they, kind of get to that point.
And I think the thing that we're both hearing is if kids learn, hey, I don't like this, that's a win as well.
Yes.
So I'm not sure exactly kind of what that track that you're talking about, Kelly Finn, but this I think is working in a way where students take 3 classes over 3 years. They can switch if they don't like what they started out doing, and it really, administrators say if they didn't like it, if they figured out, actually I hate engineering, that's a win.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they would consider it a wrong track.
Right. And maybe you are touching on something different, and if we're wrong, please correct us so we can know exactly what question that you have that we can answer it. Okay. Now I know you've been ready for this question.
I did my homework
from Eugene.
As best as I could from Eugene. Can we pop up the FAQ?
Let me find it first so it doesn't look like I'm scrolling like I'm panicking, because
everyone knows you're scrolling. You're allowed to scroll.
But I can't find it easily.
That's okay.
I have to read.
I can answer this question while Rebecca is scrolling in secret. How will athletics be treated? Basically, so if I go to Washington, but I say, hey, I want to go to Kennedy, they have the pathway I want. You are then treated as a Kennedy student. So that means all your extracurriculars would happen at the school in which you are enrolled. So that's the only answer that the district is providing us right now. That's the way that I understand it. If you opt out of your resident school, you are then a student of that other school. And I understand that includes athletics.
Right.
And I think that has been a very big concern of many parents. Maybe second to transportation is what's going to happen with my kids' extracurriculars.
Right. All right. You want to pop us back up, Molly?
Okay.
Wonderful. And we do have one last clip here from Superintendent Grover, just on receiving feedback. We do have, again, that link that we had posted in the comments. It takes you to the school's website and the page where you can leave a comment or feedback on what concerns are going forward, and they want to hear those. They do want to hear your feedback.
They do.
So we are going to mute our microphones and play this one last clip.
Roll the clip.
In regards to the philosophy around how students engage in the programming, that's definitely where we want their input, and we are certainly open to really making those final decisions based on their input. In regards to how do they feel about students being able to take classes at different high schools, is that even going to be a possibility for them? If they want us to really consider having all of the specific offerings at each of the schools, I think we're still open to having those conversations. So there's certainly definitely opportunity for us to continue to refine it so that we can make it the best possible program for the students and families of Cedar Rapids.
Alrighty.
We're back.
And I think that is everything. We're not seeing any more questions roll in. Is there anything else you think we should share?
Ooh.
Just going forward.
I think if you have any other questions that we haven't covered in our reporting or we didn't address today, let us know. Send them to the district.
Yes.
It's still time to be asking questions, and we're still working to answer those questions.
Yeah, and this is going to be something that we continue to follow as those students, go into next school year and are on these pathways, and just to see how things are working out one way or the other. And it's going to be something that's going to be on the top of our minds here at the station.
100%.
As everything starts rolling in.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us this morning. Have a great Saturday. See you again.